let's have a quick look at extruding text in After Effects 3D space. Let's start off by creating a new composition and give it a name. And I'm going to use this HD wide format, and we don't need it very long. 4 seconds. Okay. Now let's add a little bit of text. Well, let's start by adding a solid that we'll use as our ground plane. And we'll call it ground. And then we'll add a little bit of text. What typeface will we go with? Maybe this one here, that seems appropriate. And I might make it a little bit bigger. And we'll space out the kerning. Alright, now let's make those two layers three-dimensional. And the ground, I am going to adjust the X rotation to be 90 degrees. Then my bubble, I'm just going to bring up so that it is above the ground plane a bit. And then we'll add a camera. Just add a normal camera. And let's adjust our framing using the orbit tool. And we'll also use our pan tools. And we'll zoom in a little bit. Just make a few little adjustments here. Great. And the next thing I'm going to do is adjust the scale of our ground so that it's sort of, I'm just going to really ramp that up so that it kind of disappears over the horizon line. Okay, great. So that's good. Now we can obviously animate this over time, and I'm going to adjust, I'll put keyframes in for the point of interest and position, and then at about the 3-second mark we can reframe our shot. I don't know, something different. And we can see that moving in space. Just adjust that. Cool. Let's render it. Cool, get the idea. Now, to extrude the text, we have to just check one thing in our composition settings. We've got this tab over here, which is the 3D renderer. And we want to make sure that we have the Cinema 4D renderer active rather than the classic 3D. I'll click OK. And we can also just check that here on our composition interface here. We can select the renderer that we want. We need to have Cinema 4D selected if we want to extrude. When we have a look at our asset material options, geometry options is what I'm looking for, we can see that we've got a bevel depth that we can set, and let's increase that to maybe 25. So the property I'm looking for is the extrusion depth, and that's where we can extrude our text in 3D space and sort of stretch it out. And we can see that occurring. The other thing that we can do is apply that bevel, and we can include a convex bevel and make kind of a bubbly shape. It's a little bit hard to see that as is, so let's apply our include in our composition a spotlight, and I'm going to include, change that to spot and click OK, and there we can see a little bit more detail how our extrusion and bevel is operating. So I'm just moving that light around using the widget and its point of origin. And we can see we've got a nice rounded corner, and we've got some depth. The other thing that I think we could do is apply some shadow here. So our spotlight, let's have a look at our light options and turn on cast shadows. And on our assets, we'll want to also turn on accepts shadows and accepts lights. We'll cast shadows on and accepts lights on as well. We don't need to have accepts shadows on our text, but we do want to have that on our ground plane. Accepts shadows on. So now we can see that we're casting a shadow. I might just include another light here, just to brighten up the whole space a little bit. We could use a parallel or an ambient light. Let's try a parallel light. Actually, I think an ambient would be better. We'll just turn down the ambient intensity. Drop that right down. Oops, sorry. Applying that to the wrong light. Intensity. The ambient light, that's better. Alright, so that's looking quite good. I must admit, I'm really not enjoying the typeface we've chosen there, so I'm going to select something else. This is a great thing about extruded type, is that it's editable. It's not really it's not a shape, so any kind of adjustments we want to make, we can. For example, if I wanted to indeed change the change the letters that I'm using, I could. Could even adjust the kerning and the letter spacing, space out those letters a little bit more. And just to finish off, I'm just going to readjust the frame. framing of our two starting and end points. So it's looking good. We've got some text in 3D space. We've extruded it. And one final thing, I'll just put some ease on these keyframes here. And I will also adjust the speed graph. Just to emphasize that change in velocity, and then we'll render that. And you can see here that our render's finished. It's nice and smooth, eases out really nicely, and we've got some 3D space with some extruded text and some nice shadows being cast in that space as well.